Sure. How long do you normally try to keep these?
I try to keep it around 45 minutes.
Cool.
At the most. 30 minutes is dope.
45 minutes is totally
Nice.
acceptable as well.
We'll go through. We'll just fucking record 2 of them, man. Just chop them in half. Give
There
you
you
2
go.
episodes out of it.
That's what I'm talking about.
And you can release it in 6 months after this one, and we'll change shirts real quick.
I like that.
Yeah.
We'll change our hair too.
Yeah.
You know when you're like getting headshots and you do a couple looks?
Oh, yeah,
And you
you gotta-
shave. One's with the scruff and one's clean
You
shaven.
gotta wait, until you show up. You shave the night before and you forget. You're like, oh no,
Oh, dang, now I can't do
now
the
I'm stuck
scruff.
in this thing. Yeah,
Now I'm just a good-natured younger brother.
exactly for everything. So
Yeah. I'm not the bad boy.
yeah, man.
Speaking of bad boys, no.
Hey,
here we are. Some
transition,
reformed bad boys.
transition. I love it.
We're reformed bad boys. Okay, so just for some context for the viewers, I know you guys, all 3 of you, are really interested in this. Phil and I met doing West Side, the Netflix show that I was on.
Yeah, West Side.
You were a producer on the show.
Yep.
And at the time, as you may well know, I was drinking pretty heavily. And
You were having a good time. You were having a good time and a bad time and a lot of times. You were having
I
some
was
times.
having some times. And in fact, at one point, I asked the producers, "Could you guys go get me some beer so that I could have like a beer? Because I'm just,
Yeah,
I need to
chill,
take the edge
loosen
off.
up, yeah.
I need to take the edge off."
And the producer in me said, "Of course, of course, we'll get you liquored up and say some wild things for television."
Absolutely, which is totally fair, and I did, didn't I? That day, I kind of lost my temper, which is not funny. It's kind of funny.
It's amazing in recovery the things that are not funny
Yeah.
that do become hilarious,
Yeah.
right? Like when you're living it, it's awful,
Yeah.
and you don't want to see anyone else going through it
Right.
at all. But when it's you, there is something that and you're on the other end of it, that it does kind of start to become a little comical.
I mean,
you know?
we laugh about some of the most outrageous stuff.
Oh, totally.
In recovery, we're like, yeah, and then I crashed my car into a pole, and I got a concussion, and everyone's like rolling.
Yeah. Of course that would have happened.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So anyway, you handed me this 6-pack of beer. Do you remember what you said?
No.
You said, "Hey, don't make me look like an asshole."
No way. That's incredible.
So then what, like a couple weeks later, month later at the most, I'm getting sober.
Yeah.
Because it's become very clear to me that I had a problem.
Yeah.
Like a month later. And I'm like, and you're like, yo, you kind of like sidled up to me because I kind of like announced it. I was like, yeah I just want to let everybody know I decided to get sober. And, everyone's like, whoa. And they clapped and stuff. And you sidled up to me like kind of.
And I walked up, I said, way to make me look like an asshole. No.
Yeah. No, you were like, hey, man, I'm sober too. And I was like, what? For how long? And you told me. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Dude, you know what's crazy? This is so bananas, dude. I was having a discussion with some guys last night at a cigar lounge, hanging out with some guys, and we were talking about sobriety and different things. And it came up just a story of I've run into old timers that, because somebody asked me like, oh, well, what would you do if you ran into someone that was going to relapse? And I told the story, not that it's what I would do, but I remember hearing guys that would be like, look, man, it's not my job to tell anyone else if you're an alcoholic or
Right.
not. Like, it's up to you to figure it out. And it's like, and there's guys, I've actually heard guys in meetings be like, look, if you don't think you're an alcoholic, I'll buy you a beer.
Right.
If it ain't that big of a, I'll buy you the beer.
Right.
And let's test drive this,
Right.
And it's funny because in my head I go, I would never do that. And then I'm like, but wait, I just did it with a 6-pack for James.
Yeah, but you know what? I was actually at that point, I was kind of making it look like it wasn't such a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was pretty decent at like putting on a good show.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us were, right? And the party didn't end when the cameras turned off ever,
Yeah.
And it didn't end when the bar closed for me either. Like I would keep going.
Yeah.
So hold on. You've been sober now for 13 years?
13 years, yeah. So
Wow.
this upcoming January 28th will be 14 years.
Wow.
Which is crazy. The simplest, most cliche answer to it, it's legitimately one day at a time. And
Yeah.
not to, and just because that's just how you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, And in that time, I've had ups, I've had downs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have times where I'm working a really strong program. I've had other times where I wasn't working the strongest program.
Right.
Times where I'm really and the consistent rise, you don't drink, right? But like I can see a direct correlation between like the happiness, joy, fulfillment I'm gaining in my life and how much I'm working a program and staying connected to the community. And so it is one of those things for me. It's like, thank God, like I don't really have the compulsion to drink and whatnot. But so much of that is because like, I know that this isn't about alcohol for me.
Right.
You know, it's about all the, the insecurities, the not being good enough, the fear of not becoming who I think I'm supposed to, all those things that can like left unchecked, I'm white knuckling it through life.
Right.
And it's just not a very fun place to be existing.
Not a way to be.
Not at all, man.
Not anymore, right? I mean, I obviously we all struggle with self-doubt and so on. And I think that, I don't know if this is just part of the human condition or if it's something that is, kind of, I mean, it seems to be common amongst alcoholics. Like we have a desire to leave a legacy of importance, right? To do something big on planet Earth. I don't know if that's like a big ego thing or what, but like I can't run away from it anymore. I can't hate that about myself. I have to love that about myself because it's not changing. I've tried, but I want to do something important with my time on planet Earth. You know what I mean?
I think it's interesting because it's, I've always joked at times. It was when I actually ended up getting a deeper appreciation for like 12-step when I started reading a lot of ancient philosophy, a lot of, I read a lot of psychology books, I read a decent amount and, in the psychology, sociology, human nature things. And I ended up gaining a better appreciation for 12-step when I started reading things that were not 12-step.
Right.
Because I started to see like, oh man, 12-step is deep-rooted in some amazing fundamentals that aren't just attached to us as alcoholics and as addicts, but just general human condition stuff. And not to take away from, not to say that like, not to say we're not special, but, there is that part of us that I always kind of go back and forth. I go, is this the alcoholic brain? Is this just my brain? What is it? And, the ego, the legacy, all those things. And, I heard this guy talk one time and he had this idea. He was like, that success in life is all about being able to understand that your life is massively important. And at the same time realizing it doesn't mean anything. Like, because he was like astronomy, whatever. Not the one with the crystals, but the one in the sky. Astronomy, right?
Yeah.
But it was like the world is so big and you can't allow because it's so big to make you feel so meaningless and small. But you have to have an appreciation that like it's pretty damn big, man. Like you gotta be able to hold two sides of that coin.
Right. I mean, I think it's like it's important to the degree that we imbue it with importance. You know what I mean? Because I know people that I respect very deeply who are kind of nihilistic,
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's an interesting way to live. I totally respect their viewpoint. I totally understand why they feel like stuff's meaningless and may as well just kind of seek pleasure. I actually understand that and respect it. I just choose not to live like that because I want to live a life wherein, it's important that, I show up for people and I don't, and by the way, my friends that think along those lines, they do show up for people. It's not like that, but I want to live a life where integrity, creativity, what I add to the world versus what I subtract to it all gets taken into account. There's a ledger of what I'm putting out into the world and what I've, at night I review all of the mistakes I've ever made before I go to sleep.
Well, it's interesting you say that though, because I think there's something to be said about also remembering like every moment that we don't spend being happy and fulfilled and joyous. That's a moment that you're not happy, fulfilled, and joyous, right?
Yeah.
And like so often I know I can get 5 years in the future, 10 years in the past, and But it's like when you're in service to somebody,
Yeah.
and you're just and you're in that moment and you're enjoying that, like that's a moment of your life that you are enjoying.
Yeah.
You know?
You're
And
living correct.
You're living correct, right? And sure, will there maybe be some benefits from it in 5 years or down the line? Of course, right? Right? But I think there can be that element of where we are always trying to keep track of, well, is this, some people that are, faith-based and want to use the heaven analogy, right? Like, oh, I'm trying to get together all my good deeds so I can get into a heaven,
right?
Whereas like, I kind of like the idea that like, heaven and hell are states in which we can currently exist in.
Right.
And if I make a lot of really shitty decisions that go against the values and morality that I've chosen to live a life against, I'm creating a own personal hell, which I am now walking through on a consistent basis.
Oh, yeah.
Right at this second.
Yeah.
Whereas if I do the opposite, if I set a framework, build a strategy for my life on how I want to exist and show up for people and show up for myself and treat others and all that. And if I've done that in a way that I think those will benefit me, then I actually get to be walking inside of my personal heaven all of the time because I'm living the life at which that I felt was going to be a powerful life.
Right.
And that's in that moment. It's not about I have to do A, B, and C so that one day I can eventually get to here.
Right.
Or it's what is the like right now I'm in a moment where I get to hang out with you.
Right.
We get to talk. We get to enjoy. This is the brotherhood of sobriety.
Right.
Flat out. Like,
Yeah.
This is part of the community that makes life so worth it and meaningful. And,
Right.
And I don't ever, and I have to constantly remind myself to, like, be here, man.
Yeah.
Be present, be in the moment. Not everything needs to have an ROI. It can be just the moment.
What's an ROI?
Like a return on investment,
right?
Like not everything needs to be, I'm doing this, and because I did this, it's going to eventually get me that.
Right.
Like sometimes it's okay to just like enjoy in the moment that you're in. And I think for me, I've recognized that my brain wants to go to the future. I want to think about, I want to plan, I want to build this strategy. So contrary action is finding the things that don't naturally come to me. Right? So if I know that my default is going to be going to the future, then I have to be mindful, all right, stay present. There's some people I meet that they're so in the present, they never think a damn thing through.
I know.
Right?
I know some of those folks
They
too.
never play the tape forward, right? It's this drink is going to be the best drink ever drink, right? And it's like, and for those people, when that's their natural state, they need to be, all right, you're the one that you really got a contrary action for you is plan. Look to the future. Where are you heading? How does it, So I think a lot of things is we find what kind of comes to us naturally, embrace who we are, but then also starting to find the shifts of how do we also make sure that we see the downsides in that and protect ourselves from it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about coaching. How did that get started? What are you coaching?
Yeah.
And how did you fall into it?
Yeah, man. So I do performance coaching. So it, kind of, you want to throw it life coaching, personal development coaching, whatever, right? It's coaching. And it actually, the interesting thing for me, so I've, been a TV producer, I've been in television now over 12 years.
Right.
And a lot of coaching started as on-camera coaching. So I was working with actors or working with, people that were on reality shows, helping them, recraft what they were going to say, helping people be more comfortable on camera. So it actually started from like an on-camera coaching thing. Then I started to notice, for every one or two people that just needed a little bit more, they just needed more screen time, like they just needed more practice, there was a whole slew of other stuff that was behind the surface. That was what was holding them back.
Right.
The insecurities, the fears, the not knowing how to get started, all these different things. And I started seeing, I was like, oh man, like there's more, I can be doing more to help people than just straight up like getting that great 30 seconds on camera.
Right.
Like I'd be helping more. And then it started to kind of shift. I've also, I studied business and television and business when I was at Michigan State University. So there was a part of me that I love business. I study a ton of, a lot of like productivity, brain hacking, how to get, be more efficient, all of those different things, sales courses a lot. So then I started being able to work with a lot of like entrepreneurs and creatives. So I kind of specialize in doing a lot of work with like executives And you know, the way I structure things is it's like 3-month goals is how we really put things together. It's like, hey, the next 3 months, what do we want to accomplish? Let's build the strategy for how we're going to get there, and then let's execute.
Right.
And that is kind of nice to really be able to, like, you know, it's not like you know, I have some people that have been with me for years now, but then other people that come in and it's like a 3-month sprint. Cool, and let's get in and hammer it out. You know, also it's been interesting. I had a guy recently tell me, he was like, you know, dude, he's like, I think it's crazy that you've been sober for so long and you don't specialize in like coaching sober executives.
Yeah.
You know? And it was, I don't know, it was just something that I never really like dove into. Like I never really took like a lot of 12-step. You know, I think, you know what it is? I think 12 steps become so ingrained in who I am.
Yeah.
That I don't see a like, when does 12-step Phil show up? Like, it's so ingrained. You know, I got sober at 22.
Right.
You know? So it's like, it's been so much a part of my entire adult life that I don't know anymore where like 12-step ends and the psychology books begin and the coaching and studies you know, like it's all just been mixed together. Yeah. And I mean, dude, it's such a rewarding thing.
And also because the 12-step thing is so pure and it's service based, it's like, how can you really, like, you can't turn that into a, you know, like that can't be a marketing thing. Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
that's the whole thing.
It was funny because even when I first got into coaching, because there's so much, I owe so much to 12-step and getting sober and that.
Me too.
You know, I felt guilt in the beginning of coaching, where I was like, you know, I've had so many people give so freely to me through the program, that like I've been able to like gain so much. Like, how dare I charge anyone for which like now years later, like there is a massive difference between being a coach and being a sponsor, right? They're not even in the same sphere, right? Yeah. But in the early stages where I wasn't as solidified in understanding, there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, am I just going to be like charging people with what they could get for free at going on a Monday night at 7? But it was something where I find that it's like, well, where my brain goes to right now is just how important all of the things are.
Right.
You know, like one thing that I've really learned is like in wanting to treat myself like a business, right? Mm-hmm. I know that I have limitations as a man, right? I can't attempt to do all of the things. Right. So like I've become very strong at like, you know what? I care about my finances so much that I want to get a financial expert. So I got a financial advisor. You know, I trusted my sponsor so much because he's there to help me with that. So I have my sponsor. I believe that mental health is massively important, and I know I can't do it alone. So I have my therapist. You know, fitness I love, but I don't have the time to build everything anymore. And so I have a fitness coach. And it's like, I am all for outsourcing these pieces.
Expertise.
Exactly. And I'm willing. The craziest thing is so funny when a lot of people have a hard time. A lot of us have crazy relationships with money, right?
Yeah.
Based on how we were raised.
Yeah.
But, you know, for me, it was one of those things where it's like, we'll spend hundreds of dollars on shoes or on clothes to help us, which we think will make us feel a certain way.
What's going to make us sexy.
Right? I'm going to buy this shirt because it's going to make me feel a way. Right. Or I'll buy this car because I have a Jeep Wrangler, right? Because I'm a super bro and I grew up in Michigan, right? And it makes me feel a certain way. We buy all of these things in our lives. We travel because of what we think it'll say about us.
As appendages of our
exactly.
persona that we're creating.
Yet at some point, when it comes to services, people struggle to spend money on services that will actually benefit them.
Right, and on a deep level.
On a deep level.
Right.
On a deep level.
Right.
Because, and it's almost, I think for some people, it's like, oh, I don't need that.
Right.
I got it, right? Like, oh, well, a t-shirt's a t-shirt. But it's like, oh, I don't need a therapist, bro. Like, I don't need that. Or I don't need I can figure it out on my own.
Right.
And it's like, and sometimes we have to check the things that we are the most resistant to.
Right. Are the ones that we should be leaning into the most.
100%. Not even that you need to do it, but at least when we're met with resistance and it's strong and it's to our gut, there's something going on there. There's something deeper. And so, like, I'll challenge anyone that's listening to, when you're hitting that really thick, deep resistance in something, don't run away from it. Don't avoid it. Don't give into it. Have a moment where you're like, all right, what is going on? If I'm having a certain type of aggression, or I'm feeling something strong because of this, maybe there's something here for me to learn.
Right.
And for me to grow through.
Right.
First time I ever hired a coach. I was excited. I knew it was, you want to be a coach, you should probably have a coach, right? I knew it was, I was excited to get into the process and dive in. And that first $1,000 I sent, I clicked send, and my body like erupted with, "You're an idiot. What do you even know about this dude? You're such a chump. You need someone to tell you how to live." And I was excited about it, dude.
Yeah.
But it was that money. So I ended up telling the guy, and I was like, we need to dive into this, because I need to figure out what's going on. And as I started to dive and talk, I was like, I was having responses to feeling dumb.
Right.
Like not wanting to feel like I had gotten taken advantage of.
Right.
Not wanting to ask for help. Right. And it were all these really good things. And it was a learning moment for me. Now, I could have easily been like, you know what? Hey, man, give me my money back. I don't want to do this. This is stupid. You're a chump. Like, blah, blah, blah. And then I wouldn't have gotten any of the amazing benefits of it.
Right.
So when we dive in and we find that real thick resistance, got to lean into it. And at least just to understand ourselves a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with that for sure. I've been saying for the longest time, like, if I find that I'm super afraid to do something, that's probably an indication that it's precisely what I'm supposed to be doing, Except for roller coasters. I'm not into that.
Or at least it needs, and here's the thing, or at least it needs added investigation, And I think that's what's important is when we, our emotions, like I'm not a run away from your emotions or any of that. I think it's important to like be tapped in and understand, but we also have to, I kind of look at it like, our emotions are like the check engine light, like they're indicators, like they're supposed to signal something,
right?
That, hey, something's going on, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, we can dive in and kind of get a little bit more logical about like, all right, well, I'm angry. Why am I angry? Or I'm, lonely. Why is this triggering this? And I can dive in a little bit rather than just letting it run.
Right.
No, there's something to be said about moments where sometimes you just got to feel.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do need to just sit in that emotion.
Yep. Feel it till it's gone.
Right. And not, even my therapist jokes, she jokes with me sometimes. She's like, you'd like to think away your feelings. Right. And it's like, okay, like, sure. Like I have a tendency to want to go to the logic, and is that because I believe that the logic is stronger, or do I believe that thoughts are more important than feelings? Or is it because I feel less in control of the feelings and the thoughts, and it's me battling?
So you just want to rationalize your way out of having the feeling?
Exactly, right. And I don't have a perfect answer, and I think we move all the time.
It's a spectrum.
We're always growing, but it's always worth a deeper investigation and asking the questions in that moment of, oh man, okay, am I doing that? Or sometimes I've had times where it's like, no, I feel very confident and strong in the way that I'm setting this up, and then that helps me feel that much better about that I'm making the right choices and things. So
yeah, absolutely. I got another question for you now.
Yeah.
What was the end of your using like? Just to backtrack to the beginning of when this all kind of started, because we're, me and those folks that are watching, we see like a well put together dude who's got his shit together, who's working on his mental health, his physical health, he's helping other people. But what was it like at the end of your using? Like what? Show me the dichotomy.
Where it changed, man. So kind of like the quick answer, or a little bit of the rundown, like the story for me was, so I grew up in Detroit, son of a cop. Mother was involved in school board. So they were known in the community. And for me, from a very young age, I can remember having that idea of me even outside of who I felt I was, right? I needed to be the cop's kid.
Right.
I needed to be good in school.
Right. You needed to live up to their expectations.
100%. And they weren't expectations other people were or that they had put on me. It was stuff that I thought I needed to do to honor my family and all these things, right? And so the normal pressures of just being a kid are there, right? You know, am I good enough, funny enough, smart enough, all that good stuff. And then I get, I was always hanging out with a lot of older kids. So when they started drinking and, smoking weed and stuff at 15, 16, 17, I was 11. So first time I ever got drunk was, 11 years old.
Wow.
And I started drinking and it was like, for me, it was like a time, to fit in with the older kids, but also it got me out of my head. It was a temporary relief from being Phil.
Right.
It was this moment where I didn't care what my last name was anymore.
Right.
I didn't think about my dad and how this reflected on me and my mom. I was just like being present. Terrible, right? But that's what it did for me. It put me in that moment. So, I was like right from the jump, dude, like 13 years old, blacking out, like throwing up in the, puking rally because I thought I needed to be cool, watched all the movies, wanted to be Stifler in the worst way possible.
Right.
And so when I'm 14 years old, my mother gets diagnosed with cancer. We have a year-long battle. A week before my 16th birthday, my mom dies. So I'm 16, right around 16 years old. I'm already dabbling with alcohol as like a coping mechanism for life. Now I've got a deceased mother, and I'm angry and I'm sad, but I'm also got this ego that I need to be perfect and have everything put together. And like, even the day I found out my mom had cancer, I was getting ready, I sat at the dinner table, I cried with my dad, and then I put my basketball jersey on and went to a game. Like that was my way, like, I'll just white knuckle through this thing.
Right.
And then so the drinking continued. I started, when the mom was gone, I started really kind of diving in. And it wasn't just the party stuff. It was like going to parties, but then like drinking and driving alone by myself. Getting the car up to 95, 100 miles an hour on the road by myself. It wasn't always just to show out for other people. And I think so much of it was like, there's a part of me that like, I was so angry.
Yeah.
That life went back to normal for everyone.
Right.
And then it went back to normal for me on the outside, right? Still doing well in school, on the honor roll, student council, doing all these things, playing sports. And it was like, I was frustrated and it's like, dog, does no one see that I am completely fucked up here?
Yeah.
And so it was like, I was doing all these kind of ridiculous things and then, ended up getting, crashed my car at 18, got arrested at 19, got arrested again at 20 for all minor in possession stuff. But the problem was like nothing was hitting home, right? Because I wasn't getting any help. I wasn't getting in. I didn't get put into a program. I wasn't, and so I was allowing success in one area of my life, right? Still making the dean's list. I graduated college a semester early. Like I'm doing all these things on the outside to prove to everyone how together I have it. Yet under the surface, I'm just completely all mixed up, Right. So I graduate Michigan State, getting ready to move to LA. And 11 days before I moved, I got a DUI in the town where my dad was a retired police chief from the newest cop on the force that did not recognize the last name. I blew a .29, completely out of it. And the cops show up and they pull my dad out of bed. And they tell my dad, they go, Chris, they go, this is bad. They're like, Phil blew a .29 and he's like hanging out joking with us. He's laughing like it's not a big deal.
Right.
And there was a part, that ego of me that was like, I'm gonna get out of this.
Right.
It ain't gonna, whatever.
Right.
And thankfully, like everything stuck. I had to, I ended up, the state of Michigan came down. I was like, hey, maybe Phil, you shouldn't drink alcohol anymore. I remember, it's funny, I remember walking home from the police department. And this is my, like, we all have the actor in us, right? That we think we're so special and we're on this stage of life and everyone cares. And I'm walking home from the police station. And I remember thinking, like, when does the bar open? Because if I really want to tank this thing, if I really want people to know how bad it is, I should go drink and get messed up before I even go home.
Right.
Right? And it was that sad little kid that wanted attention, wanted to be held, pat on the head.
Yeah, wanted a hug from mom.
Wanted a hug, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, I didn't do that, went home and went to a meeting that day because I thought, oh, well, I'll probably get court ordered anyway. It'll probably look good to the judge that I started going on my own. But the beauty of the program, man, is like, so much of my life, everything was always about earning it. You gotta be the best and beat them, and you gotta earn the respect and earn the grades, and everything was so conditional. Like, if I do not operate this way, or if I don't perform this way, or if I don't do this, I won't have friends, I won't be loved, I won't be valued, I won't have value. And when I got to AA, and there was people that loved me, and they gave me attention and cared about me and asked how I was really doing and really wanted to know me, and it had zero to do with who I was. It had nothing to do with what I had earned, and it had everything to do with the character of those people.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, man, I get emotional thinking about that, bro, because it's such a special thing that we have in our program.
Yeah.
To love and care for people when they're at their fucking worst.
Yeah.
When they're at their absolutely worst, and when we think that we are the farthest from being lovable in that moment, and that's when people show up big in recovery.
Yeah.
And I think that like seeing that shift in people, in that true like unconditional love in a way, it changed everything for me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it changed everything.
Yeah.
And people joke in AA, they're like, keep coming back will ruin drinking for you. They ruined it for me, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's like that. At the end of the day, that was like what I really wanted was the love. And I wasn't feeling it in the way that I thought I deserved to feel it or the way that I wanted it. Or, I was so young, I didn't even really have an understanding of what it was that I was longing for, you know? But then and then I was drinking to avoid all the chaos. And it's like, but to get in there and have that love and that experience and that connection with people and to be learning, like, dude, I feel so grateful from a standpoint of not even just about recovery, but like to go into a room at 22
and learn how to be a man.
And it was like, I say this a lot and it's getting super cliche, but it was a joke that like I was raised to respect my elders and I respected you enough to not push your ass down the stairs. But like, I didn't think you really had a lot to tell me, right? I was 22, I graduated college. I know all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And then to go in and to hear 45, 55, 65, 70-year-old people talk about emotions that I was experiencing. And it was like that element of being able to connect with people, not distance myself from them and, oh, well, I'm so much younger, or, oh, I haven't crashed 7 cars, or I'm not on my 9th DUI, or my family doesn't hate me. It was like learning the power of yet. It didn't happen yet.
Right.
When you continue on that path, it can. And it was like in learning how to compare, or to learning how not to compare, but just to relate to people.
Yeah.
And finding something in someone's story that I could take away. Man, it's so beautiful. It's such a... I feel so damn grateful that I got it at 22, man.
Yeah. I know. I wish I would have. I was I think I was 28 when I got sober. So, man, I love that. Learning how to relate but not compare.
Yeah.
That's such a great encapsulation of learning to commune with your fellows.
Dude.
And I didn't have any idea how to do that before I got clean. I didn't have any. Obviously I had very important relationships in my life, but they've gotten better as a result. Everything's gotten better, really.
Yeah.
But I still think about drinking from time to time.
Yeah.
I go, well, maybe now that I have all of this knowledge about myself, maybe I could have a glass of wine.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? But it's like, but I have the amazing ability at this point to, first of all, call somebody and tell them that I'm thinking about that. but I also have the ability to watch the tape to the end
Totally.
and see James in the fetal position thinking about killing himself and be like, oh, right, yeah, that happens every single time without fail.
Yeah.
And I always think, because it didn't occur to me that I was a chronic relapser. I thought that I just kept realizing I wasn't an alcoholic over and over. What a
Positive thinking.
What a lovely realization. But yeah, so one more thing before we close up, because it's just been such a lovely conversation and I love your perspective. Why don't you plug, you wrote a book, correct?
I did write a book. It's called, All the Reasons I Hate My 28-Year-Old Boss. And it was, it's really aimed at people in the workplace, like for us growing up. And I think the idea attacked me so hard because I've always been so obsessed with age. And I've been so obsessed with keeping score. How many women should I have slept with by the age of this? How much money should I have by this age? How far should I be in my career by this? I was so obsessed with these benchmarks, you know? Because so much of society kind of puts that on us, right? This idea that, with time, time comes wisdom, and, you'll understand when you're older, that whole thing, And so I started to kind of really, I was writing a lot, and I was writing a lot of kind of motivational content for friends, and then it turned into a blog, and then this idea, no joke, came to me. The title came to me first. All the Reasons I Hate My 28-Year-Old Boss. And I was like, what would that book be about? And then I started to investigate ageism in the workplace. And I started to kind of really look at, like, what are some of the different... Sure, there's real ageism in the workplace that happens, and that's a much bigger issue of societal. I go, but for people that are getting older, or, now we have so many younger people that are getting put into higher roles, tech startups have completely changed. People are staying in their careers longer than what they used to, so you have a lot of different generations of people working together.
Right.
It can create conflict amongst the generations. So I was like, I wanted to write a book that would be beneficial to people so that they could stop looking outward and start looking inward and be like, all right, this is the situation I'm in. How can I take back my workplace and empower myself so I can start enjoying this again? We spend so much of our time working.
Right.
And I think it's so important that people are able to, like, go to work and be excited and get fulfillment there. It won't check every box.
Right.
Our careers will not check every box that we need for fulfillment.
Right.
But if done right, it can check a decent amount of them.
Right.
And so that was really the motivation behind the book. 5 years ago, you just told me I was going to write a book. It was never anything that I ever had an ambition for.
Yeah.
It just really happened. And then, there's moments where it was like, you start doing it, and then you're like, wait a minute, bro, you need to finish. Finish the damn thing.
Right.
So it was like, even I laugh. Like, I feel like I'm the only guy that wrote a book, and then a year later, the ebook came out, and then a year later, the audiobook came out, right? It took me a little bit of time to get everything out. But now it's, available on Amazon, Audible. I narrate it, so if you like my voice, you should go, stick with it, right? if you've listened this long and you enjoyed it, then you'll probably enjoy the audiobook.
Yeah.
It's a cool experience, man. And dude, as a musician, to have real content, real things that you birthed and created, and they will exist forever.
Yeah.
It's
a living diary
It's
entry.
a living diary, dude.
Yeah. And it teaches you as the years go by. I have a record that I listened to for the first time in a long time the other day, which is funny. It's coming up on its 10-year anniversary of being released.
Nice,
which is,
dude.
I'm that guy now.
You're that guy.
Wow, the 10-year anniversary of this record that I created with some dear friends. But I was listening to it, and I hadn't listened to it in a long time. And I go through phases where I'm embarrassed by some of the things that I said, and then alternately, like, really impressed with my young, 20-some-odd-year-old self. And I was having one of those days where I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm so glad that I birthed this and put it out into the world. And it has made people happy. There have been people tell me, like, your song got me through my depression. This song, I had it as my alarm in the morning. I wake up to this song every day of my life, and it helps me be a bad motherfucker.
Dude, and I love that song.
Thank you.
I love that song so much. But there's something... in the social media world, right, in the popularity world of what we see, what people say is success in music, right? Selling 100,000 albums and blah, 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 touring, all this stuff, right? But even for me, coaching or for when I've done speaking, you see these people like the Gary V's that have hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of followers, and it's easy to get caught up in that. And you're chasing these, we can get caught up in chasing the faceless numbers.
Right.
Right? And then there was a moment where, I kind of was thinking, and it's like, you know what? My job, I don't need to reach everyone. I don't need to have a small impact on a ton of people. I want to watch my people that are in my world. I want to watch them win.
Yeah.
I like when I go on my Instagram feed and I see the people that are commenting or liking or messaging, and I know them.
Right.
Like, I know them.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a place and time for the people with millions of followers, and they can do that thing. But I take on the responsibility of I want to be as strong and impactful for the people in my world that I can be.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to, I don't want to leave them behind, or maybe leave's the wrong word. I don't want to distract focus from the ears that I already have.
Right.
Because my ego tells me I should have more ears.
Right.
Or I need more, or because of what another 10,000 followers would mean to me,
right,
or what another couple book sales would mean to me, when it's like, I want to honor the position that I've been placed in as strongly and powerfully as I can.
Yeah.
And when I kind of shifted, it gave me a lot more peace, man. And really being able to I want to watch my family win.
Right.
I want to watch my core win. The people that have dedicated time with me and I've dedicated time with them, that's who I want to win. And anyone that we add to the fold, awesome. We'll embrace them with open arms. But I don't need to have 10 million people that know my name for me to feel like I'm doing, God's work.
Yeah, right on.
So, that sounded like the God's work thing sounded so... I'm doing it all for God. I do a lot for me too. The ego is massively strong, but
I hear you, but I do want to do that work too.
Yeah.
I want to do both.
Yeah.
Hopefully those two things align.
And that's the thing, right? And it can and they can align, right? But I think it's important to realize that at every we can't forget about the small stuff and the individual sponsorship or the individual meetings or the people that we joke about, the 3 people that watch the podcast, but fuck you if you forget about those 3 people in 10 years.
Trust me, I love those
But you know
guys.
what I'm saying? In 10 years,
yeah,
if you built this or whatever ends up happening, shame on you.
Oh yeah.
If we forget about the people that have been there from the beginning and the people that care. And I don't know. Let's hope we make it to 10 years. Another 10 years.
Yeah, I know, right?
You never know.
Good grief. Sometimes things feel so tenuous, especially during these COVID times and whatnot. Well, I'm gonna close with this. I've known you for a while.
Yep.
We've interacted in intimate ways a few times, right? And I just want to say, not that you need to hear it from me, but this is the best I've ever seen you. And
Thank you,
it's
man.
It's onward and upward for both,
I appreciate that, man. This is very cool.
Hell yeah.
This is a very cool moment to be in.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for you because I've seen the way that you have attacked your sobriety with just, a level of passion. It's massively impactful and it's powerful, dude. And I think it's so cool. And I'm honored that you would, want to make the trek over to downtown Culver City and come and chat with me and
Yeah.
So I love it, man. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you, sir. All we're trying to do is help these people one day at a time stay newly sober.
Newly sober. Hey!